Is the Genesis GV80 the best midsize luxury SUV you can buy right now? It really depends, but it's really good. And if you're shopping for a midsize luxury SUV, then you're probably also looking at the BMW X5 and the Mercedes-Benz GLE. This Genesis GV80 is the Koreans' idea of a midsize luxury SUV, and they've built something really fantastic. And in this video, I'll go over all of those fantastic features, but basically when I'm looking for a luxury car, I want to know three main things. Does it look good on the outside? Does it look good on the inside? And does it have a lot of features? And number three, is it fun to drive? And I'll go over all of those things with the GV80. Now let's start with the outside first. Does it look good on the outside? I think the GV80 is one of the sharpest looking midsize luxury SUVs out there. The 2025 is a facelift model year, so the front end and also the rear end have been very slightly revised. The grille now has the double line design that is found throughout the car, and then there's a more gentle curve on the corners of the grille. And if you notice closely, it's also a little bit bigger. The intakes have been reconfigured and the headlight and daytime running light configuration have been tweaked as well. So it's hard to tell the difference between the old and the new, but I think this new one looks a bit closer to the Mercedes GLE than before. From the side, the 2025 model year comes with 20 and 22-inch wheel options. This 3.5T Prestige all-wheel drive comes with the 22-inch version, and these are new designs. At the back, it's a little bit easier to tell that you're looking at a 2025 model year version because the exhaust tips have been completely eliminated from the rear bumper. So now you just have those chrome twin lines going across the back. So does it look good on the outside? I think so. Let me know in the comments what you think. Inside, the GV80 gets a pretty drastic facelift, and it's all designed around this really impressive looking 27-inch OLED display. It's a combination of the digital driver display and also the touchscreen on the side. The right 60% of the screen is all touchscreen, while the left portion is not. The display is also flat throughout, so the passenger can easily see the screen as well. This is by far one of the more impressive design features found in a new car, not because it's just two screens on a single panel. A lot of manufacturers are doing that right now, but the fact that the software, the animations, and the design make the two screens work together really well, and it's all very seamless. Mercedes have built something called the Hyperscreen, which is a giant panel with three screens built in. However, the look isn't as nice as this much simpler and smaller design. Although I do miss the previous design of the GV80's interior because that had a 3D digital instrument cluster. By far a completely unnecessary feature, but it's still pretty cool. It gives a depth effect to the digital screen, making it look 3D. It's sort of like the old Nintendo 3DS where you can see 3D images without requiring special glasses. The system now also comes with wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto without needing an over-the-air update like some of the earlier models. And the sound is piped through the pretty premium sounding Bang & Olufsen system. The climate controls have also been reconfigured, and it's now a bit more tightly clustered in this screen. The quick shortcut buttons are now haptic feedback touch buttons, whereas they were dedicated physical buttons before. Overall, not a big fan of these controls considering how tightly packaged everything is, and it's a little hard to control while you're driving. But it's important to highlight just how many luxury features can be found in this car. First, you have heated and ventilated seats. You have heated steering wheel, and then you also have a built-in fragrance system. And while it's not on the screen, the driver's seat also has massaging features which you can control by grazing on the left-hand side controls. As for the seats themselves, they just feel pretty amazing. It's covered in Nappa leather surfaces, and they look pretty gorgeous. And if you look at the armrest, this thing is actually heated. That's another sign of a proper luxury car. And if you look at the passenger seat, you could also control it via these buttons on the side. So this is if you have a VIP sitting in the back and they need more room, you could control it via here. And just a fair warning for all of you light interior lovers out there, stains will show up very easily in this car. Just for example, I'm guessing that is a coffee stain on the seat here, and hopefully that's something that can be easily cleaned up. There's a bunch of extra tech in this car as well, like the heads-up display, the digital rear view mirror, and also a 360-degree camera system that makes parking super easy. As for the steering wheel, they've gone to a more traditional 3-spoke design. The previous one only had a 2-spoke design, which was much more unique. There's a lot of physical buttons on the steering wheel, and there's also a pair of paddle shifters. And on the right-hand side, you have a small touchscreen so that you could swipe between songs and also control all the different menus in the digital driver display. As for the second row, there is a generous amount of rear legroom at 38.7 inches. The panoramic sunroof, I think, looks pretty great. If you need another reminder that this is a luxury car, there's automatic climate controls and heated and ventilated outboard seats. That's rare to find. The center armrest has built-in cup holders, and also there's a hidden compartment. There's also a flip-down mirror so that you could look good. And in luxury car fashion, there's also a built-in sunshade, but this is motorized. And as for headroom, I'm 5'8". There's plenty of room for myself here. There's 38.4 inches of rear headroom. And get this, you have motorized controls for the second row. For the cargo area, to open it, there's a button right beneath the windshield wiper, and that reveals 37 cubic feet of storage space behind the second row. There are buttons to control the rear seat. Fold the second row down and you get 72 cubic feet of space. So the interior of the Genesis GV80 definitely looks good in my opinion, and it has a lot of features inside, and it ticks all of those luxury car wish list items. And that brings me to my last point: is it fun to drive? And this thing is powered by a 3.5 liter twin turbo V6, making 375 horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque. Attached to an 8-speed automatic transmission, this thing can go 0 to 60 in the low 6-second range. So it certainly ticks that performance box in terms of straight line performance. There are faster mid-sized luxury SUVs out there, and if that's your primary requirement, then this isn't going to rank as high as something like the BMW X5, which you can get more than an extra 100 horsepower over this in the xDrive 50e trim. Similarly, when it comes to handling, it just never clicked for me with the GV80. I thought the steering feel is too light and too muted, and the brakes and the throttle are also tuned a little too much for comfort, where it feels like there's a bit of pedal travel to get some things done, making this car something that's far better to be driven in than it is to drive, which leads me to my next point. If ride comfort is your primary requirement, then I think this is even more comfortable than the Mercedes-Benz GLE. Everything about this Genesis GV80 is on the soft side. The steering is very light. The brakes require a little bit more travel. And this also has an electronic controlled suspension with road preview. Basically, there's a camera in the car that will scan the road in front of you. And if there's potholes or speed bumps, it will adjust the suspension accordingly so that you have a smoother ride. So is it fun to drive? I think it's so-so. It's definitely fast, but I think there are faster and more fun options that the Germans have built. This Genesis GV80 is the 3.5T Prestige model with all-wheel drive, and it stickers after delivery for $81,300. And at this price point, you are also looking at very well-equipped BMW X5 and Mercedes-Benz GLE. You also have a lot of options at this price point, considering the new Lexus TX plug-in hybrid is cheaper than this. The Acura MDX at the top end is also cheaper than this Genesis GV80. So from a feature set perspective, I think yes, Genesis GV80 is one of the best mid-sized luxury SUVs you could buy out there right now. And it has a really strong base starting price of $58,200 with the 2.5T model. But at this much elevated price point, the value proposition isn't so readily clear. There are a lot of other options at this level for you to choose from. I want to thank you so much for watching all the way up to this point. My name's Hanson, and that has been the facelifted 2025 Genesis GV80, and I'll see you in the next one.